Here with your pro-life news break. The same day, Illinois Governor Jay Pritzker signed a law mandating that public colleges and universities offer chemical abortion drugs to students, police arrested an Illinois man on charges of killing his unborn child by giving his girlfriend the abortion pill mifepristone without her knowledge. Emerson Evans, 31, of Bloomington, was charged with 2 counts of intentional homicide of an unborn child last Friday. The woman was 7 weeks pregnant when Evans allegedly put 4 pills into her vagina. The pills he had obtained were meant to be taken orally, and the recommended dose is a single pill. That same day, as he signed the bill making abortion pills more available, Pritzker said, "6 years ago, I made a promise to the women of this state. As governor, I will ensure that your medical decisions will be your own." But during a court hearing, a judge said Evans allegedly told police he was the one who made the decision to end his baby's life. Priests for Life Executive Director Janet Morana observed that we are hearing more and more of these stories of reluctant fathers killing their unborn children, and the more access is expanded to these deadly drugs, the more likely we are to continue hearing them. Mifepristone needs to be taken off the market. In a victory for life, a federal judge this week ruled that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services can halt Medicaid payments to an abortion seller in Maine that has 18 killing centers throughout the state. Maine Family Planning was seeking a temporary injunction to a provision in President Trump's Big Beautiful Bill that cuts off Medicaid funds to all abortion providers. Planned Parenthood sued immediately, and the Maine abortion business was hoping to keep the taxpayer dollars flowing while the suit is ongoing. But Judge Lance Walker, a Trump appointee, said in his ruling that Congress is entitled to withhold federal funds and otherwise disassociate from conduct that is not enshrined as a constitutional right. A study out of Canada that followed 28,000 women who had abortions and more than 1 million who gave birth found that mothers who had abortions were more than twice as likely to require hospitalization for psychiatric disorders. The study, published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research, also found that the risk of mental health problems increased with the number of abortions women experienced. According to pro-life researcher Dr. David Reardon of the Elliott Institute, the new study confirms the trend in a series of recent papers linking abortion to elevated rates of mental health disorders. Did you hear about any of these studies from the mainstream media? You did not. The ballot battle is in full swing in Missouri, where the abortion extremists at the ACLU want to prevent a pro-life amendment from appearing on the ballot in 2026. If approved by a simple majority of voters, the amendment would repeal a pro-abortion amendment passed by voters last year. That amendment nullified state law that protected most babies from abortion, and Planned Parenthood was quick to get back into the business of killing. This week, a judge in Cole County heard oral arguments on the new amendment, which also would protect minors from gender-mutilating treatments. A lawyer for the ACLU called the inclusion of the gender issue ballot candy, meant to win over voters who otherwise might support abortion. Pope Leo this week told pro-abortion Catholic politicians that it's not possible to be both. Rejecting the notion that lawmakers can be personally pro-life but publicly supportive of abortion, the new pontiff said there is no division within the personality of a public figure. There is not on one side the politician and on the other the Christian. Rather, there is the politician who, under the gaze of God and of his conscience, lives out his commitments and his responsibilities in a Christian manner. Nancy Pelosi, the Pope is talking to you. The Alaska State Medical Board has unanimously advanced proposals that would label as unprofessional conduct gender-mutilating treatment for minors and classify late-term abortion as not ethical medical practice. Before becoming law, the draft regulation must undergo review by the Alaska Department of Law and then enter a 30-day public comment period. Currently, there are no limits on abortion in Alaska. A pro-life activist in South Carolina is appealing his conviction on charges of violating the FACE Act and also asked a federal court to repeal that law, which makes it a crime to block the entrance of an abortion business. Stephen LaFemin was convicted last year of blocking a Planned Parenthood in Columbia, South Carolina in 2022. His conviction was one example among many of pro-lifers bludgeoned by the FACE Act during the Biden administration. When his case comes before the Court of Appeals for the Fourth Circuit on September 12th, LaFemin will argue that his conviction was unjust because the U.S. Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade in 2022 nullified the FACE Act. LaFemin served 59 days at a prison camp following his conviction. He was not among the pro-lifers pardoned by newly inaugurated President Trump in January because he wanted to preserve his ability to appeal. And finally, are you wondering if laws protecting babies from abortion are hindering recruitment of elite college athletes? Me neither. But a study from the University of South Carolina found that abortion laws negatively impact the recruitment of female basketball players at top-ranked colleges and universities. Nevertheless, the South Carolina Gamecocks won the NCAA championship last year, as well as claiming the Southeastern Conference Tournament championship. Abortion advocates worried about women's college basketball shouldn't really lose any sleep over this. That's some of what's making news this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. The mayor of Minneapolis might not like it, but I know you join me in praying for the children and adults killed and wounded when a gender-confused young man turned a Catholic Mass into a massacre this week. It's way past time for our nation to take a close look at what this gender insanity is doing to our youth and the terrible consequences for all of us. And please remember always that life is the only choice.